Yeah.
When you grow up, this is how you act. This is how you do things. You don't even take even want a chance because there's always that thought that you're seen as a threat, and because you're seen as a threat, all it takes is one nervous person. It doesn't even have to be a racist person, but one nervous person around you.
Yeah.
That's all it takes because the system itself sees you as a threat. So
Yeah.
that's what you're taught and seen as. So you have to always be aware.
Yeah. Like in my neighborhood, it wasn't a lot of. It was predominantly Hispanic, Puerto Rican, Mexican,
Mm-hmm.
and then like literally it was like me and maybe like one other guy was like the only white guys, and there was like no black kids really in my neighborhood. The only black kids in my school were from the oh my god, the foster home, not the foster home.
Mm-hmm. No,
What's it
it's
called? Yeah, foster home. Yeah,
foster home. No, it's not. It's
yeah, like an orphanage almost.
yeah.
Like it was kind of like that, but I forgot what it was called. But there was one not too far where all these kids lived, and and I forgot what, because we always called those kids like the name of that organization.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember now. It's been so long, but that was like literally one of the only black kid in my elementary school was there. I remember Derek. He was fucking. He was fun, man. He was a trip. He would talk a lot of shit though, like to like the teachers. But he was the one that taught me is like, oh yeah, like I was always told like you gotta talk to police this way, that way, and I always thought it was like a foster kid kind of thing. I didn't know it was a black thing until like high school.
Mm-hmm.
When obviously then high school got bigger, a lot more people throughout the city rather than just the neighborhood. So especially playing sports and stuff like that, it was like, oh shit, but because I had my fair share of a lot of bad cop interactions, you know what I mean? That's why I tried to tell my girlfriend's dad, who was a cop, he's like, so it's not. I'm like, yeah, it's like just because it doesn't happen to you doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Like all the microaggressions, my girlfriend had to deal with. It was like, yeah, you didn't go to an all white school, and being one of the only Hispanics and people asking you all these fucking stupid questions, So like me being the only white guy around Hispanic people, either I'm buying drugs or selling drugs, So like we got pulled over all the time, especially around Humboldt Park.
It's funny. So. I'm coming from we're definitely middle class family growing up. I mean, a little bit. They're upper middle class now. But even then, for me, it was Ryan. You're growing up. You're 6 feet. You're 6'2". You're 6'3", 6'5" now. Like you're going to be seen as a threat. You have to act a certain way always.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give respect even if they don't respect you. And it's funny because that happened when I turned 16. I got pulled over in the town just over the bridge, from Thornwood to Thornton. I got pulled over. I did what my dad said, showed both my hands, had my ID, everything out, gave it to the officer. Of course, he still pulls me out. I'm in my dad's brand new Expedition.
Mm-hmm.
And they pulled me out, made me get on the ground. Then they sit me on the curb as they check through all my car and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm just going over the bridge just to go to, it was like theater times, a little movie store,
mm-hmm.
right? 2 blocks over the bridge. And I didn't even do anything. And, 30 minutes, I'm probably outside that, sitting on the curb. They're checking my car. Like, what? The high school's right here. What do you think I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but that was my first interaction, realizing like, oh, wait a minute.
It's different.
This is what it is. I'm here. This is different. I have to stay in control, stay respectful. Don't be seen as a threat. And it's just something that as I learned like I was 14 and had to deal with it immediately as soon as I started driving on my own. That's how it was. From that point on, I realized, and I see both sides. I also understand like because something happens. First thing you do, you can call the police, right? So you need to understand both sides. You understand that hey, it's wrong for them to look at you that way, but you're also going to need them in certain situations. So it's hard, and it's kind of trying to balance that. Once the duality, you have to be able to balance it. It's hard.
Yeah, and this movie definitely like. I remember not wanting to watch it because not because it's like a bad movie or I don't want to see it. It's just I know how it is, and then I don't know. It's like one of those things like when people are like, I don't want to see a gory, scary movie because I already know how I'm gonna act. Like I already know how I'm gonna be, it's something like this too. It's like it needs to be said, don't get me wrong, but it was also like and I think Martin brought up a good point when I put up a post about the Elvis movie coming out. We were going back and forth, between me, Martin, and Will about talking about like kind of black culture being exploited, this and that, and stuff like that. And it kind of came up as like Martin said, not Martin, Marvin. I'm sorry. Yeah, we were just on the show with Martin. Marvin said something along the lines of if it's not said in cinema, then people are gonna like believe the other narrative, and the other narrative is always what the people wanna give you, because it's not. I don't say it's not.
It's not real unless you can see it through someone else's lenses.
Yeah,
See someone in the first person sense, when you can empathize with the situation, it's not real. And I think that's what reality is for a lot of things. So me growing up, before 2000, there's not a lot of movies about talking about that. So you think of a young black kid as a troublemaker, no matter what, because that's all they tell you. That's all that it is, even though that's not true. That's not how. It's not totally wrong, and it's not totally true. None of that stuff has happened. There are kids that are troublemakers. They're black, white, Hispanic. They're all, that's that. But they're also good people. But if that's all you see is the negative aspect, people that don't deal with black people all the time, will immediately see it as negative.
Yeah, because that's what they see on TV.
Exactly.
Either the news, the movies, TV shows and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, even like I know it's like really like way off subject, but we're not kind of, but we were going through our TV shows late last night, me and my girlfriend, and we wind up bringing Head of the Class. I don't know if you remember that one, where it was the Scottish teacher and stuff like that, and they had a very diverse class, and I was like, wow, things you don't notice until like later. And there was one like Asian boy, and they gave him the accent, that generic cheap Asian accent, and I'm like, why? I know that actor doesn't talk like that, but they wanted him to talk like that because, like, no, you're Asian, so therefore you have to sound like that,
authentic. So
exactly. You have the same.
Yeah.
Same thing with all the black characters in that show. They all had to be kind of hoodish and have that certain like talk to them and stuff like that. So I mean, but that's what you see on TV. I mean, they weren't technically portraying them in a bad light, but they were portraying them in a light of like, oh, everyone of this color or this race sounds like this, they act like this, and that isn't in itself bad, but you're putting them in a box, which is bad.
Prejudice.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of what the whole point of when I was talking about black superheroes and having that, seeing them that in that aspect, and knowing that. Even we talk about the Fresh Prince, we talked about seeing different types of black people, because black people are not just one thing; they are a lot of different things. We're not a monolithic group. We're not a monolithic group. We are multiple shades of things. Once again, I've come from a family we did okay. I'm more of an upper middle class than just a working class. But in the eyes of everybody else, I'm still a black guy, a big black guy too. So I mean, we all still have to deal with the same prejudice because that's all you see, instead of realizing there's multiple. It's everyone. We're just like everyone else. There's a lot of different type of white people, a lot of type of Hispanic people. There's a lot of different type of black people, different shades, different colors, different likes, dislikes, but they all want to jump us into one.
Yeah. And I mean, it's things like that. Like you need to show the variety. I mean, like that's why it's important for representation. Why people get so upset about certain things. I mean, about like, well, Ariel can't be a black girl because why? Because there's no such thing as, black mermaids, which I found out the other day. My girlfriend's reading a book that is predominantly based on the actual myth of these Caribbean black mermaids, and I'm like, that's super interesting. She was telling me the whole story, the book she was reading, and it was like super cool. I'm like, oh, they're all not just like Norwegian white mermaids. It was like, that makes sense, Caribbean stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, it's not just that, but it's because you only seen white girls with fins, therefore it's only there. You know what I mean? So that's why representation matters, because like you said, it's not, you're not monolith. You're not just stuck into one thing. You're like, it's everywhere. It's everything, and everyone is part of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. So
I wanted to really do this movie specifically because of Ryan Coogler. This is the first time he wrote, directed, did all this stuff, and got this really great cast around it. Because it's a story that you really want to tell. I think I was reading about it. Octavia Spencer actually tried to say she was going to forego her salary just to make sure that the movie kept under budget, so it could be made. Because it's a story that needs to be told, and people need to understand that this is something that actually happens all the time. And now it happens all the time because we've had all these things, come up in the last decade when you realize that, this is profiling happens everywhere. But before then, you only hear glimpses of it. Oh, that's a one-off. No, this is what happens everywhere.
Yeah. Because I think even this was like one of the first times like something like this got caught on video, and then if you really think about it, before this, the major thing that you saw on video was what, Rodney King. And how long was that? I mean, I was a child when that came out, so I mostly hear stories and stuff. Yeah. So then this came out on camera. I mean, this came out in a year when Blackberries were big. Apple kind of just hit the market. I think their like 3G phone was like the big thing back then. So cameras, or video cameras specifically, were very, very new at that point. Maybe 8 years old and just a couple years old in the masses. So it changed what people were able to see, because you're able to see through other people's eyes, kind of almost, I don't want to say literally, but pretty much. It's like, here's what they see from their point of view. So
that changes everything when you're able to see that, when you're able to see firsthand accounts of what happened.
Yeah,
changes everyone's viewpoint, and realizing that this is not just they did something wrong. This is actually something that actually happens all the time. And how would you feel in that situation? What would you do different? I know we're not talking as much about the movie like as I want to, but something that stayed with me was like, after he gets shot, he says, well, I have a daughter, I'm trying to get better for my daughter. And as a father who has 2 girls, that's something that sticks with me, and that's, you only can do certain things. You can't do something that can cause you to be taken away from them.
Yeah.
And that's why this always sticks with me, and that was big. That was really big. It's sad. But it's important that this thing was being made, that it came out this way, that it opened other people's eyes to the experience.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I know we haven't got too much in the movie yet, but the movie is based off of real life events. So it's like, this to skip the real life event and everything about it is kind of taken away from part of the movie, I think, too, because you need to understand what happened and what brought the movie to being what it became. But so, I think stuff like that is like obviously important to talk about, especially with a movie like this. It's based off of it. So yeah, you need to talk about the situation that happened. But I don't know. I mean, the movie itself, I thought, was so well done. It was a day in the life of Oscar. And it had really good flashbacks, like that prison scene where he's in prison, or with Juvie and his mom. Oh my God, that was like, that one hit you in the gut, because as she's walking away, she's like, I'm not gonna hug you, I'm not coming anymore. And he's like screaming, I'm sorry, as the cops are like pulling him away. Oh man, I mean, that's just like so many kids in prison, in juvie. It's that was rough, and that wasn't even the main part of the movie. That was early on.
Yeah, but that is the emotions that I got. I feel like Ryan Coogler from the beginning was able to always make real, make you feel like this is actually happening. This is important. Makes you emotionally involved into the movie. It draws you in, and everyone has a connection with that. And everyone remembers being young and stupid, and how many stupid things you did. You just might not got caught doing. I'm disappointing your parents. Can you imagine being a mother? How disappointed you were as a mother? How disappointed you be as even doing something stupid and get caught?
Yeah.
And I mean, Ryan Coogler really did a great job. And I feel like this is what people see when you hear Ryan Coogler, realize that's why you need to let him write and direct it, because he has a vision. And he's going to pull those things out of you. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. I mean, some of the shots in it were so good. I mean, there's like one shot when they first get on the train, and he just kind of like, shows them walking in, the doors close, and he stays in that shot as the train just whips by, and you just see blurs of people and stuff. And then like as the train like ends, it just zooms out and you see the train go by. I'm like, it seems like a silly moment, but it's like he's putting emphasis. He goes, this is it. This is the train that it happens on. Like, it's I don't know. It's such, a lot of foreshadowing. Oh my God, the dog, the pit bull. That's another one that hits you, like, being an animal lover, but it was also like a metaphor that he, Oscar was his dog. You know what I mean? A good boy in the bad spot, wrong time kind of thing, and then just gets discarded on the sidewalk. With
no one cares. No one cares. No one sees him as important. It's just part of life.
Yeah. Even the people itself
shouldn't have done this. Probably shouldn't have walked across the street. It's his fault.
Yeah.
It's his fault. And that's when he comes, saying, like, instead of realizing the situation or giving someone be understanding, you kind of blame the victim.
Yeah. I mean, that whole metaphor, when that played out, I was like, I know where this movie is gonna go, because they just told you in that scene how this movie is gonna go. You know what I mean? Because he was that dog. Because pit bulls are notorious for their violent, kind of thing, which they're not, but that's what they're known for, because that's what you see on TV. You know what I mean? They're super awesome dogs. But I mean, it's also like, and they're also like very linked to like, being in the hood, you know what I mean? Like being like all that stuff. So it's like that dog was a literal representation of him. You know what I mean? Like this thing that everyone thinks is one thing, and he's in this area because that's where they belong, kind of stupid shit. And I was like, damn, and he sheds a tear, and it's just like that kind of scene that Ryan Coogler did. I was like, it might not have been real, but it was a representation of what it was, where he was crying over the dog, but it was like
also crying over
himself. Exactly.
But I think and I'm like, another thing is also
so good.
It shows how Ryan Coogler does storytells, and he's a storyteller. And that's why I kept saying you have to let him write and direct it, because he's a storyteller, and he's going to get you to the end, but he's going to take you through all these peaks and valleys through something, and to get you to realize you're not much different than this person who's dealing with this. It could also be, this could be you, or someone that you care about. And how would you deal in that situation, dealing with the stuff that's going on? What would you do differently?
Yeah. Man, it was just such a well done story that just was just very, very, very sad. Man. I mean, also, besides Ryan Coogler doing amazing story and directing, Michael B. Jordan, man, this was holy crap. This was probably my favorite thing I've ever seen him in. He was great in Black Panther. it was also around other great actors, but this movie where I think he was able to shine, you know, with him just being the star, it was amazing. He played the role so perfectly. I don't know if he had any kind of attachment to it or what he did to prep for it, but he was so good. I mean, that whole beach scene, after the dog part, and he throws away the weed and he's just sitting there, never even looks at the dude who came to buy the weed. He lied to him and told him, he got rid of it, blah, blah, blah. Never even looked at him. He just the whole time is staring out the window. And it's like, again, another visual representation of just like, I'm done with this world. I'm trying to look forward, but he's stuck in the car and man, and it is Michael B. Jordan. That scene alone was so good. So good.
I remember when I first saw it, I thought that was one of the best acting portrayals that I saw that entire year. I thought Fruitvale Station was going to go out and just take all the awards, and it really didn't. It got nominated in a couple things, but it really didn't. And I think it's because you're not used to seeing these type of stories being told. I mean, and now you're seeing it more often, but right then it wasn't. And Michael B. Jordan was young. Think about it. I mean, this is almost 9 years ago. This came out. And now he's a good actor. He has all these chops. He's done all these great movies, but this is where it started. And I remember seeing him. I was like, "Who is this guy?" And I think I was with my wife at the movie, and she was saying something like, "Oh yeah, he's a Days of Our Lives actor or something like that." She said something like that. Like I was like, "What? Who? What? Who is this guy? How did they find him?" And, now, of course, now it's like you don't know who Michael B. Jordan is.
Yeah, I know. Now he's same thing with Ryan Coogler, especially after both of those guys in Black Panther. But yeah, I'm looking at it right now is they were supposed to be nominated and like win a bunch of Oscars, and they didn't either. They got 4 nominations, but like
it was supposed to sweep everything away, and it did well in the SAG Awards, and it did well in some other small festivals, and then it got to the Oscars, and you're like, what?
Yeah. I mean, that's a very big issue with the Oscars anyway. It's like the company with the biggest money, wins the awards instead of the movie that was the best. So the whole voting issue. I mean, right now, me and Alfredo are doing our Oscar reviews of 2022, but just even a few years ago, we thought this great movie about a woman being raped and dealing with all of that, it was Promising Young Woman, was awesome, was amazing. And it got snubbed for everything, instead, a stupid other movie won, No Man Land won. And I thought that was the worst movie by far out of all of them. And they won everything. I was like, that wasn't the best movie. That wasn't the best acting. That wasn't the best directing.
But don't want to talk about hard subjects.
They don't want to talk about real life. They want to do like fantasy, because like in No Man Land, it was about her dealing with like her dead husband and being poor and stuff like that. But it was also the struggles of an old white lady, which
talks to the masses.
yeah, I guess, where like Promising Young Woman was also like, it's also a white woman, but it's talking about like rape and very like real issues. So, but even you go back to like Black Klansman, didn't win. I mean, Spike Lee, that movie was amazing. Instead they were like, oh, let's go with more of a safer black movie, and they went with the Green Book, which was like, it was about this man who was black and gay, but it was all through the eyes of this white dude, so it was like so this movie getting snubbed, Fruitvale Station getting snubbed at the Oscars is not a surprise, especially 2013 14, whatever Oscar year that was. But
his budget, I think it was $900,000.
Wow.
And it made 17 million worldwide, over 17 million worldwide. So I mean,
that's crazy, man. It was.
You see the talent, you just should believe it. It's just real plain simple. You should believe it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Octavia Spencer was awesome as the mom. Oh my god. You know, I mean
That brought
the
me
big
more to
scene.
tears than anything. That her brought me to
Yeah.
tears a lot.
Yeah. I mean, she's a great actress anyway. Just in everything else she does. But you know, the scene where she sees her dead son was that was rough. You know, and then the prison scene, you know, when she tells him I'm not coming back, you know, that was also very, very rough. But man, you saw the emotion on her face. It was like, I don't know, you know, like when you can tell like how somebody like, I don't know, I know it's acting, you know, so it's like that's what they get paid to do, but there's people that do it much better, and she definitely knows how to do certain emotions better, you know.
Yeah, I say you when you feel the emotions, when someone can
Yes.
convey to you, make you understand what this mother is going through
Yeah.
her actions. Not just you just acting and saying words, but the feeling behind it. I think that's kind of what you got with her right then.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, even the officers, you know, because you got the older one and you had the younger one. I mean, that's another duality, you know, dealing with that, you know, and how do you cover up? Do you admit what happened? What do you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, there's just so many different things, and it's just I don't know. It was honestly, it was like a masterpiece for that little money to be able to create this story with the cinematography and everything else with it was so good. It was so well written, so well directed, so well acted. Something I felt like I had to at least talk about a little bit because you know you don't see that representation. You don't hear our stories sometimes, and sometimes you don't give credit to where credit's due, and they don't get it. You know, Oscars. So sometimes you should talk about it yourself. You know.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, you know, everyone gets all up in arms about you know, comic book movies not winning Oscars, even though they're amazing movies and break all these records. But you know, the artsy fartsy, you know, critics are like, oh no, you know, I'm like, okay, so all these people are wrong. Okay, you know, like Spider-Man isn't this great movie, you know, like, you know, you know, instead, you know, we watch like, you know, all these other movies that are out. I'm not saying they're bad movies, but you know, you want to talk about talking to the masses, you know, same thing with a movie like this, you know, but they don't consider them at all like to be like Oscar worthy, which is very upsetting, you know, because Michael B. Jordan was amazing at it. You know, the whole scene at the end where the cop has, you know, his knee on Oscar's neck, and then you have another cop shouting roll over and another cop shouting put your hands behind the back. You know, it's like, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's real life. That's real life, you know. When one person saying do something else, that person saying doing something else. I mean, there's a video about a drunk white guy. I can't remember his name, so I'm sorry. But he was, you know, one cop. You know, they both had like rifles on this dude, you know, and they told him like, you know, don't get up, you know, and another one's like crawl over here, and the other one's saying don't move, you know. So you have two cops saying completely different things, and then obviously, you know, he gets shot and they kill him, you know, because he can't follow the rules. But when the rules don't make sense and they contradict each other, you're gonna lose. That's a losing situation, you know. And I felt like that was a losing situation, you know, where
all you could do there at that place is give yourself up, and even giving yourself up still wasn't enough. You know.
Yeah.
What I don't want to get lost is a 22-year-old male, a father, you know, a son, died because of that.
Yeah.
22. I can't remember being 22 anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, you know, it's pretty left behind, you know, a daughter, you know, a mother, you know, a girlfriend, you know. So even Sophina, so, she was who was that? Melanie Diaz. Sophina. Yeah, because they kept calling her Fina. Yeah. She was really great in it too. You know, I thought she portrayed the girlfriend like really well. Her parts weren't too big, but the part she was in was like, you get it, like, so yeah, it was a very, very, very well done movie, a movie that very impactful, that I I wish I would have saw sooner, because it does have a lot of meaning behind it, to like real life meaning, not just like, oh, it's a metaphor for. I'm like, no, this is real life. This isn't a metaphor. This is literal, like,
It's a
so
day in the life of someone who's just like me.
yeah,
Anyone could happen at any point in time, man. I think that's important to understand that this is what it is. This is real life.
yeah,
And it's so hard to watch and see it coming. It's like you're trying to be better, you're trying to do better, you're trying to get this stuff together, and it's going to happen still.
yeah.
And best you can do is acknowledge it and give it value and make understand that it's the only way it gets better is if we remember it and give honor to it. And it's too often that you don't want to, because it's how bad it is, but
Yeah.
no one wants to really acknowledge that all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get too political, but that's a big issue in the country right now. It's like, no, we can't teach this, or we can't talk about this. I was like, why? If you don't learn from the past or learn from the mistakes, then you're just hiding it, and you're going to repeat it, and it's just going to continue. You know what I mean? So, something like this, like you said, like honor it and show it, show it to people. It's also learning. You know what I mean? It's learning for everybody. So instead, it wants to be swept under the carpet, and we're like, nah, let's, it's not important, when it is, but yeah, it was very, very well done movie, man. Very well done. And I actually forgot about it. And then as soon as that first scene started, I'm like, I remember it. I remember, I'm like, I didn't see it. And I remember why I didn't want to see it. And I remember what it was based off of and stuff like this. And because in 2013, man, how old was I? I was like 20 or early, like mid 20s myself. Yeah. Yeah. So, man, it was just, how old was I in 2013? No way. I was 20. I was not 20. 28.
Yeah,
I guess.
you were 28 because
Yeah.
9 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. So, yeah, I mean,
You old.
yeah. Yeah. And I was still under 30.
I was only 27 and a half.
Were you? And a half. But yeah, man, this was definitely, I think, a good movie to end our, Black Excellence kind of month that we're doing. I wouldn't mind continuing this. I know once Martin, oh my god, I keep saying Martin because once Marvin gets some free time, once everything kind of comes up,
things he has to watch.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know he, there's certain things he wants to talk about, certain movies and stuff like that. So, it's just because Black History Month is over, doesn't mean, we can't keep talking about stuff like this, and I think we should keep talking stuff like this, like other places in this country want to hide it, and label it something and say it's bad, but it's learning. It's learning. If you don't learn from it, then what are we doing? So
I was actually watching the movie with my wife, If Beale Street Could Talk, and it's another movie. I was like, maybe I'll jump on here and do it with my wife so she can talk about how this was. I mean, but it's another movie that the world sees you as one thing, and it's not always the same thing. But it's not just that. It's a love story. It's also how do you become a man? How do you become a family? How do you hold on to those things? How do you believe, beyond belief? These are stories that should be told and remembered because you don't want to have to relive it again either.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I agree.
These are great. And actually, I really want to thank you for being able to do this with me too, because it's it's great getting another person's opinion on the things and just being open to hearing all this stuff. So this is great. So I really want to thank you for doing this with me too.
Yeah, no, man, I appreciate like I especially like Will, saying stuff that happened with him, and I was like, let's make it a priority. You know what I mean? I get it. We can't do a bunch of movies. We just don't have the time, because we both have, working lives and stuff like that. But just putting a little bit of time out just to talk about importance about just like the Black excellence in cinema, I think is very relevant to our channel and to, I think what we kind of stand for, I guess, but I think doing these 4 movies, I'm definitely down to do more, so hopefully we can keep doing some more like this, because I know Spawn was on the list. We definitely wanted to talk about Spawn, talk about some other superheroes and other directors as well, and writers and stuff like that. I mean, I definitely want to do Black Klansman, because that was an amazing
that movie was so good.
It was an amazing movie, and I was so pissed it didn't win all these awards. So stuff like that, so hopefully, we'll get some more people on, more guests. If you, like you said, you want to do one with you and your wife, I completely okay with that, man. So yeah, more people talking about it. So I'm down for that, and I think definitely, I gotta give a lot of credit to like E-Man's movie review, because he has the whole Recast T'Challa thing, which is kind of what started a lot of the conversation between this like representation in the movies and stuff like that, and especially with this movie with the director and the bad guy from Black Panther. Yeah, so this one definitely connects very closely to that, on how great both of these guys are, so yeah, so I'm always good to do more. So, but I want to say thanks for telling me to watch this one, and I watched it and I do not regret it, man. It was sad, hard to watch, but necessary. I think definitely needed to watch. So, but anything else before we head out?
No, just want to say, happy Black History Month, and continue to watch these things, and give it a voice, and remember, I mean, it's important. You want representation, it matters.
Yeah, big time. But cool, man. Appreciate it. I hope we're gonna do some more. Definitely do some more. Try to get 1 or 2 out a month, and we'll see. But appreciate you coming in, talking. I know Marvin, your dad, Dr. Waller, coming in and doing a movie review with us. So hopefully we'll get some more people and get some more reviews. But that is it for this. Definitely we're gonna do it again next year. Hopefully maybe a little bit more in depth. We'll plan ahead for it. But yeah, I think that's just the issue with the whole channel, like planning ahead instead of like a day before. But
hey guys, I got a good idea. Let's do it tomorrow.
yeah. So hopefully, next year we'll definitely do a bigger event for it. But yeah, thank you everyone watching too, and coming in, chiming in on the videos. We appreciate it. And thank you guys, and we'll see you guys next week with a new movie review. So later.